Hey guys, what a day. What a night we had last night on Sunday. The Mighty Magpies get the job done at the MCG. Welcome to the first review episode, Collingwood Connection. Here with Fossil from Patterson Lakes. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, William. Yeah, it is a good morning, William. I slept very well last night. The Pies did the right thing. They played very well in front of 82,000. So yeah, it's good to wake up and yeah, it was a nice win by the boys. They all did their little bit, so it makes the day a lot better.
Exactly. Well, the Party Pooper Pies upset the Saints on their big night. It was the biggest ever home and away game for the Saints. That's thanks to the biggest club in the land rocking up to the MCG. Well done to all the fans that went there, and also ruined their 60-year premiership anniversary. Fossils. So too old, too slow, as they say. A tactical masterpiece by the coaches and played out by the boys. So no, very happy. I think every Collingwood supporter would be pretty thrilled with that. The war chest didn't do much for the Saints, but first thoughts, Fossil, what do you think about the game last night?
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad to go for first up. I think yeah, there was good pressure early by both sides, and then the Saints kicked the first two goals, and their leg speed they looked pretty quick. Once they got the ball out and about, but then Collingwood sort of slowed the game down a little bit. De Goey would looked very dangerous. He looked very sharp. Kicked a couple of goals, and I think it was just the way that Collingwood used the ball. I think they used the ball a lot better, and when Pendlebury came on, he's just unbelievable, that guy. Like you said, well, I think he can play till he's 50. He just gets in the right places at the right,
Definitely.
gets in the right places at the right time, and he just uses the ball so well, His assisted other players were really good. I think young Buller, I know it was only his first game, but I think him and McStay could probably isolated a bit more in the first quarter. They spoiled each other a couple of times, and but that'll just come. I think it's only his first game, so he'll learn from that. But I think yeah, they did really well. Their one-on-ones were good. Their tackling was good, and they just knew when to either go or stop, and just the way they used the ball, it was very, very good. And I thought. Like their back line was very good, and Cameron went down to help out because we only had Frampton as the other tall. So, but Maynard was good. He had 6 marks in the first quarter, and the Dacos boys they only had 13 between him. But I thought De Goey was really good. He looked really sharp. Well, he had I think 4 kicks, 4 handballs, and 2 goals, and he got us off to a reasonable start. I think at quarter time the Pies were 4-3. The Saints were 2-4, and they kicked the first two, and the Pies kicked the last four. So, I think they came in at quarter time, and they'd be fairly happy with their first quarter.
Yeah, no, it was very good recovery, especially after that first 15 minutes or so. Yeah, took an 11-point lead, kicking the last four goals. It was interesting, the early tactics, very handball happy, which looks like the 2026 game style that we'll see with a few teams this year as they're transitioning. I think every team that won over the weekend had the most meters gained with hand passing going forward. And then later in the game, we did see Collingwood change their tactics. We were more keepings off. I think that's the most marks we've taken in a game for a long time that I can remember. So I think they
Yeah.
just played through the motions, and that experience of the players just really paid off in the end. Just one note I had with the first quarter was, yeah, that young fella Pendlebury, yeah, held on the bench for the first 20 minutes and then 3 goal assists in the blink of an eye. So absolutely turned the game around. He's an absolute freak, and yeah, I hope he does get past 50 Fossil. That'd be nice. He can get to 600 odd games. But yeah, we're quarter two, so the 666 rule makes this easier for teams to, get some quick goals going, and within 30 seconds they Saints got one back, which is a bit disappointing because we worked hard for our quarter time lead. Bit of an arm wrestle after that. The Saints scrapped, got a scrappy goal for Nasaya. There was a couple of iffy decisions. I don't want to go too much about the umpires. I know there's a few upset fans and all the nuffies out there, the other supporters who say that Collingwood were favoured again, supposedly. But yeah, the rub of the green will go in and out each week. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, the Saints, they had 3 goals on the run. Frampton was caught holding the ball. He had a couple of moments he'd like to forget, but as you said, first game for the year, so let's not try and be too critical of the boys. They got the job done, got the 4 points, so we'll take that. And then habit of the game, like I mentioned, the Magpies killing the clock and regaining control. The class of side bottom, he set up Schultz late in the second quarter, and I think he got that goal was very important for our momentum heading into the main break. St Kilda outscored us 3-3-21 to 1-2-8. But yeah, the Saints up by 2 points, but I think that last goal was very important heading into the main break there, Foss.
Yeah, it was. Well, we have just a quick question. Cameron got penalised twice. Was that because his foot went over the line, or was it the knee contact?
It
I
was
couldn't quite.
yeah, he got done. Well, I saw the second time he got done for the knee contact. So I think they want the players to jump at the and this is going to be confusing. We already spoke about this pre-season. There's going to be a lot of ruckman trying to work out the tactics and all, but I just think the AFL is going to at some point come in and change it, but well, alter it maybe a little bit. But yeah, apparently he put his knee up, and that's something they're trying to get away from. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, I just wasn't quite sure whether because he stepped over the line or he did make knee contact. But like you said, I suppose I'll sort it out as the season goes on. But anyway, that answered the question, Will.
Well, that's all right. The third quarter fossil. How'd you think
Yeah,
they
third
went?
quarter. Yeah, third quarter was absolutely magnificent for the Pies. It was their best quarter. They kicked 5 goals, 5 to 2 goals, 3. But yeah, they got a goal very quickly and through Pendlebury to McQuarrie and then McQuarrie again. They moved the ball, from defence to the forward very quickly. I think I was very surprised. Well, not surprised, but the kicking to position was absolutely magnificent. And that second goal that resulted in McQuarrie goal. They just moved it out beautifully from defence to the forward line, and they were looking for each other. And they seemed to be on the run when they got the ball, and they didn't break stride, got the overlap going, and I think their ball use was very good. When St Kilda got the ball into the open spaces, their speed was sort of worried Collingwood a little bit, but Collingwood's tackling, I think that was where we were miles in front of St Kilda. Their tackling ability was very good, William. They just all did their bit. They don't give up, like a lot of the sides you could when they got the ball, but when they haven't got the ball, I think that's where Collingwood sort of really helped them with a good third quarter. Their tackling when they didn't have the ball was very good. And then once they got that bit of a break, they slowed the game down, chipped the ball around, took 2 minutes off here, 2 minutes off there, and they were just playing very direct football. And their kicking position was very good. They had 23 fewer inside 50s and they still won the game. So, ball use is very important, even though they say that we're slow. But when you got the pill, Will, they haven't got it. So I thought that was really good. And I think that's why they deserve their 5 goals. They played really well in the third quarter.
Yeah, exactly. No, they had a very good third quarter, which set up that 18-point lead going into the last, which I think was very important for us to hold on. Parker, just a note with that third quarter, he had such a 50-50 quarter, some brilliance and then some forgetful moments. He went back with a flight in defense to stop a certain St Kilda mark and shot a goal. The next play, he was the one that kicked the ball forward to set up Pendles in the forward 50. That was before he hand passed it off to McCreary for that second goal. So awesome effort there by Parker, and he's young. He's only going to learn, and I think they should persist with him a lot through the year, especially with the likes of Jeremy Howe or Darcy Moore injured at the moment. He did get caught though, holding the ball 25 out. He, only had a half a second to really think, but a little underground hand pass or something, just not give them the chance. Fortunately, the Saints did miss. They had a few moments through the night. The Saints they fluffed in front of goal, but the next play also. Wilson, his man he was running with, I know he's quick, but he let him get out the back and he set up the Saints' next goal. So, a couple of learning curves there, and I don't want to, be too harsh on Will, but yeah, he'll learn a lot from those. And Rowan Steele, one moment I love from that third quarter, running in for his first goal, and then De Goey, I love to see the fight, just getting in the face of Garcia. The boys were up for the fight and weren't going to be pushed around, and it showed also with our best tagger, Perryman Fossil. We didn't pick that one, but yeah, he's getting under the skin of Messiah, and yeah, the boys were just
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
very well with their tactics.
yeah. I've got a bit to say about him later on, Will. But yeah, up till three-quarter time, I thought Houston had a good game too, Will. He had
Yeah.
plenty of possessions. I think up to three-quarter time, he had 19 kicks and 11 marks. And the Dacos boys, they only had about 58 between them till three-quarter time. But I thought Cameron did a really good job with him in the ruck against Marshall and DeConing. And then he went back and helped out and took a couple of really good marks to help out in the defensive game. But yeah, I think he had 17 hit outs till three-quarter time. But I thought those four boys were doing really well as the rest of the side.
Yeah, exactly. No, he holds his own, Cameron. That was the question mark going in, but he's the best and fairest for a reason. And yeah, we're very lucky to get him for peanuts from Sydney. So thank you very much, Sydney, for that. And then the into the fourth quarter, so something that's deflating once again, like the second quarter, they we had a nice three-goal lead, and then two quick chance goals by the Saints in Ryan and Higgins. Really changed the momentum and feel of the game. We started to rush a few chances going forward. We had them open a couple of times, and the players looked right instead of left. That's where that little bit of panic set in. For most of the night, we were pretty controlled. We responded well, but yeah, just for that patch after those two goals, we were hanging on. The defense was really hanging on. You got to give them a lot of credit for how undersized they were, and without those senior heads in Moore and Howe, I think they held on pretty well. And then great pressure too by our small forwards. I know you'll give them credit later, but Schultze and McCreary, they just didn't allow the Saints easy exits. McCreary's just such a gut runner. He just puts the pressure on them, even if it's I think he only had one or a couple of tackles, but he had something like 29 pressure acts. So, that's just absolutely keeping it on and not letting the Saints get out easy, which, would have been very hard for our defenders if they had to respond to that. So well done to those two boys. They just had great games, kicked a couple of goals each. So no, very happy with them. And we held on against that St Kilda barrage before Jamie Elliott stood up and got his first, and that really settled. It was our only goal for the quarter, but that really settled the side. I think there was a couple of iffy decisions, and luckily enough, they Saints didn't make us pay for it. There was a crap non-call. Sorry to say, Pendle's caught Sharman absolutely cold, holding the ball right in front of their goals, and the umpires didn't blow the whistle. And then Ryan misses. That's only with 9 minutes left in the game. We were 13 points up. So, sometimes it goes your way. But yeah, we had a couple of iffy umpire calls, but we'll move on, Fossil. Once we get the 4 points, it doesn't matter. And then milking the clock, the likes of Dacos and Pendles, just the amount of control they have just to ice the game and, make the right decisions at the right time. We saw that countless times by Dacos, and Pendlebury with limited time had so much influence on this contest. He's an absolute gem, and I think it went a long way to, the Saints, they were out on their feet by the end of it. The Pies' tactics and chipping the ball around, making them defend, just absolutely caught the Saints off guard. So, awesome job by McRae and the coaching panel. Out-coached Ross Lyon and the likes. So Collingwood run out St Kilda 9-12-66 and Collingwood 11-12-78, 12-point winners, Fossil. And I think we're going to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I think they would be too, to keep the team. I know we only kicked 78, but to keep a team to 66, I think you're going to win most games with him. And I think, like you said, the backline players and the guys getting back to help out, I think, they did a really good job. And like I said, it was only first game up, but they got the 4 points. That's all we're after, William. So hopefully we can continue next week. So no, it was a job really well done, and I think the coaching staff would be proud of another good team effort by all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's our quarter by quarter breakdown. So we'll fly through a couple of these, Fossil. The positives out of the game, Fossil. We'll start with you.
Yeah, well, my biggest positive, William, I think we found a run with player in Perryman. I think he done an absolutely magnificent job. And like they say that we haven't got a lot of taggers, but if he can play like that on the opposition's best players, I think he did a really good job. He had, I think, 22 or 23 possessions. He kept him to 19, Wanganeen Miller. So I think that was the stat. So I think that was a great positive to come out of the game. And also, it was a great team effort by everybody. So I think, yeah, Perryman could be the run with player. Well, if we get into trouble with somebody,
Yeah, exactly. No, he did very well. Maybe have a drink there, Foss. But yeah,
maybe that's a good idea.
yeah. No, he did very well, Perryman. We were talking about potential other taggers, but no, they worked very well, very hard on that and shut down the $2 million man. Some negatives, unfortunately, I'll take those this week. Was our tall forward stocks. didn't really have a night to remember. McStay kicked a nice early dribbler goal from 40. I was surprised he actually got it all the way there, but that was a nice moment. Except between McStay, Buller, and Membry, they only combined for the 20 touches, 6 marks, one contested. So hopefully that changes around next week. And 5 tackles, 1 goal, three. So not a very big night from the three tools, but the fact that we still got the job done, I mean, that says a lot about the team and our defensive structure, obviously. Really held up, which is going to be important next week against the Crows. And Callum Wilkie, they let him get off the leash. He had 26 disposals and 12 marks. I know a lot of those were, kick mark in the back line and stuffing around with it, but yeah, it's still, yeah, those three tools just need to have a bit more presence, and that'll help bring the smaller guys into it. Elliot, quiet night for him, but we know he'll respond at some point. So. And 40 inside 50 is a very low number. It was tactical with the night it was. Like the Pies decided to play a lot of keepings off when the pressure was up and try and get the game back in control. So only one game, really hard to read, but most weeks they're going to have to get a few more inside 50s to kick a winning score. So the player that most impressed you, Fossil, for this one.
What was that? The impressed me. Well, I'll tell you what, that Schultz, I'll tell you what, he's just unbelievable, that guy. His stats might be great, but just the way he puts pressure on his tackling, like it, could have gone down the other and easy for a couple of goals, especially when there's only 8 points in the game. Or sorry, what was the end result? 8 points, was it? 10 points.
12, Foss.
12, sorry, 12 points, yeah. So I was getting there. But yeah, no, just the way Schultz goes about it, and then McQuarrie and these guys, like you said, their stats might be used, but what they do for the team is just so important, Just stops the run, like a couple of times they looked like they're out and Schultz tackled them, end up getting a goal in a low scoring game, those things. They probably don't go unnoticed by everybody, but they're just so important to the team. So, yeah, I was very impressed with his tackling. William, he done a magnificent job.
Yeah, no, he's we love Schultzy. After that first season, some Pies fans are really questioning, but takes them that time to sometimes get into the mold, just like Houston, very impressive as well in his second season. So fingers crossed they can keep that form going. I was very impressed by IQ, Isaac Quainer. I know he does it most weeks, but he continued on his great form from last season. He played on the dangerous Higgins and at times took Nasiah Wanganing Miller up, but he kept Higgins to 1 goal and helped himself to 23 touches, 11 marks, and a heap of those defensive stops. So he's just a cool head under pressure, and yeah, it was great to see him stand up once again. He yeah, really locks down those dangerous forwards each week. So all the credit to IQ there. And for this week, guys, we're going to do the Collingwood Connection Player of the Year votes. So take over from the Brownlow. They get to see some stats now, the umpires. So Fossil and I will give our 3, 2, 1 each week. I'll kick this one off. Fossil, I gave my one vote to that man Perryman you were talking about. Yeah, 22 disposals himself, but held the most dangerous player in their side to 19 disposals and didn't have much effect on the game. I know he got that goal. It was a very chance goal by Nasiah and a bit of carnage down there at the time. So Perryman, that's just an absolute awesome effort, and yeah, obviously had a big influence on the game. Pendlebury, I've got the two. Only 55% game time, Foss, but 26 disposals and 5 assists. Five goal assist is crazy in that amount of game time. But just his influence when he came on the ground, he's got that cool head, but he just doesn't seem like he feels the pressure. He just goes through the motions, and it doesn't matter if it's a close game or just whatever position the game's in. He just seems to be doing all the right things. So, and I think he's apprentice once upon a time. Nick Dacos does a lot of the same. So I don't want to be too Nick Dacos friendly all the time, but I tell you what, 41 disposals, only 6 contested, which people will knock him for, but it's that gut running, the composure in key stages of the game. If anyone watches that fourth quarter, towards the end, he's the one running around and finding the right targets and getting in position to make sure that his players have an out. So he's just absolutely incredible, and hopefully he can secure that Brownlow this year. But more important things is just what he does for the team each week. So he's an absolute freak, and my 3 votes go to Nick Dacos. What about yourself, Foss?
Yeah, well, we're nearly on the same wavelength. Well, I gave yeah, one to Perryman, like you said, for his job on Wanganeen Miller, and I think we found a run with role player there. I thought his game was absolutely magnificent. He did a great job. I gave 2 votes to Josh Dacos. I thought he played very well, William. Just the way that they use the ball, which is a big difference in a tight game. Like St Kilda turned it over a lot, but they just know where to kick it to, when to kick it to, and I thought he was excellent. And of course, brother Nick for 3 votes, William. He just gut runs the whole game. Like you said, he might have only got might have got a lot of hard ball gets, but just the running he does and the way he brings other players into the game, and he just uses the ball. It's just unbelievable. He kicks those little half boomerangs and bends them around the corner, and the players don't break stride. And I think that's a big plus for the Fires. So it was Nick Dacos, Josh Dacos, and Perriman, 3-2-1. And
Well,
special mentions also to, I thought, Houston, Cameron, and Schultz.
they all had very good games. You could probably chuck about 10 players in there, Fossil. They did
Exactly, exactly.
very well between them all. Speaking of Pendlebury, I think they should make the goal assist stat a bit more recognised in the AFL. Last night, like you said, he obviously had five. The next closest in the game was one, so he pretty
Yeah,
much a big standout there, just like his basketball background, as everyone likes to bring up. But yeah, overall in the league over the weekend, there were four players on three, so. Pendlebury stands above all, and he had 22%. Well, they had 22% plus more game time than Scotty himself. So I think you'd like that stat to be a bit more recognized. But no, that was absolutely awesome by Scott last night. And last point for us, Fossil, was players on the chopping block and returning players for next week. We bear in mind that it's only one game, so really hard to judge. I know, like I said, a couple of those tall forwards had a quiet night, but we're going to need them. McStay and Buller. Buller's first game for the club, so as long as they compete and don't let the defenders get on top of them, that they'll have their chances as they come forward. And there's been a bit of knock on Billy Frampton, but I tell you what, if we didn't have Billy there, I don't know what else we'd do, Foss, because he still ended up with 19 touches and I think 13 odd marks. So still played his role, and it's not easy when you've got a ruckman and a forward in front of you. And he had a couple of bad moments, but he also had some good moments. So I think some of the supporters just, ease off him a little bit. It's only one game into the season. So yeah, no, he did well, Big Frampton. And when Moore comes back in, that structure, they work really well together, those two. So um, I think going into next week, yeah, a lot to do with our availability or lack of that. Ed Allen had a couple of nervous moments. Teammates missed him with a hand pass, which doesn't do him a hell of a lot of confidence. That was in the first quarter. They hand passed to his feet a couple of times, and then he was under the pump. So as a young player, that's really, something hard to move on from. He's still learning. He needs to pick up the pace of AFL level a little bit. I know that comes with time, but he seems to shine in the VFL, and even in those practice matches, he just looked like an absolute bull. But once the pace of the game gets up a bit, like it does at AFL level, he's just going to have to learn to adjust a bit. And I hope they do
yeah, like
persist with him. Sorry, go on, Voss.
yeah, no, no, you're right. Sorry, well, yeah, well, I think you're right. Well, like there's a big difference between the seconds and the seniors pace wise. They don't get a lot of time, but they'll learn once they pick up the pace of the game. Sometimes it might take them 2 or 3 weeks. No point just playing them one game and then dropping them. They're not going to learn. So like you said, it depends on who's available. But at the moment, if they think they're the best guys for that position at the moment, they just go with them. And give them a chance like you said, a couple went to his feet. If they had went to his chest, he might have kicked a goal or, kicked to somebody that was in a better position. But, it takes a while. But I think you've got to keep with them because they just can't keep playing the older players all the time. But, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. But like you said, with Brampton, you can't be too critical. He's the only tall one down there, and next week it'll be interesting to see what they do because they've got the three talls at Adelaide. So, and like you said, it depends who's available. But I think like most players, they have their good runs in the game, and then sometimes they stuff up. But they're all trying hard, and that's all they can do, and that's all you hope for.
Yeah, exactly, Foss. Yeah, and that big game next week. So we'll get to our preview later this week. But that tall forward line's always been a bit of a problem. So it'd be very interesting the tactics. I'm going to predict this now, but I think if more is available, from what I hear, that could be the Yeah, well, he could be available for this week coming. So one change for me, I'd have Allen out and keep Moore in. If he wasn't available, I think they'd have to look down the line of either Steen to come in and support Cameron, and then we can, if Cameron does go back and support the defense and Steen can stay in the middle or go forward, that might really help them out. And Cochrane as well. He was very close to a debut, as a few of us thought he might do. So yeah, I think that's what they'll look at this coming week. Fossil, yeah, but no, very happy with the result. Pies fans, I'm sure. St Kilda was all the talk, and that would have been used by the coaches. It was just a yeah, absolute mastermind by the coaches this week, and yeah, hopefully they can keep the momentum going next week. It's interesting, a 6 day break in Adelaide's first game of the year, so hopefully a nice trap at the MCG next Saturday night. Fossil will be yeah, very interesting to see.
It will be weird. It'd be nice to get off to a good start to a zip. But yeah, like you said, they'll probably have a look at Steen and maybe Cochrane, depending how they want to match up against the Adelaide boys. But I'm sure they know what they're doing well, and I'm sure all the supporters will enjoy their lunch today. It was a beautiful day when your side wins. Absolutely magnificent. I'm going to take the lovely Susie. We're going to go down to the beach later on.
Very nice.
Have a nice brunch. It'll be absolutely magnificent.
I think everything's a lot nicer after a win. I had a nice coffee this morning just watching the KO mini replay fossils. So
Oh,
awesome,
beautiful.
awesome job by the boys, and thanks guys. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll try and bring you our videos each week, and it's always nicer after a win. So yeah, awesome work by the boys, and yeah, leave your comments whether you agree with us or not. Have your own opinion, and the email as well. So that's collingwoodconnection1@gmail.com. I'll get back to a few of those responses that have come through. But yeah, awesome work by the pies, and hopefully a nice week ahead, fossils. So cheers, guys, and looking forward to a big week.
Go Pies.
See you guys. Bye.
See ya. See ya.